Well, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm with Brandon.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's usually people go like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" How's
Yeah,
it?
hey.
Well,
uh,
Brandon, you are probably the first guest that has came with notes. So, what are the notes here? Because I've been thinking about this all night. I know you sent me a little bit, but I was like, "All right, what does he want to get in right into?" Because you do
oh,
something important, and that is talk about conspiracies. Because I feel like a lot of people are like, "It's not true," or "It's not this." It's like it is. It's pretty freaking true. A lot of it.
if there's like a 1% chance, I'll give it a chance. I'll look into it and then I'll use discernment to figure out if it's worth giving any investment of my time. Like,
Is there a hollow Earth? Probably not. Is there a flat Earth? I don't know, but I'm willing to hear a point on it. But if you're telling me the government's doing a lot of shit and you're like, that can't be true, I bet you it's true. I bet you damn right it is. There's a lot of stuff I could point to evidence wise that's just going to make you be like, hold on a second. We tried to blow up the moon with a nuclear missile. It's like, yeah, all to show how big of a country we are. How amazing.
yeah, just to kick up dust, do something interesting. But yeah, Hollow Earth is fun. We can't we don't have the technology to dig deep enough, so it's possible.
Are
We just
you
scratched the surface.
All right,
Just a
I've
little
looked
one.
up Hollow Earth and I've done an episode on my buddy's podcast. Look at my shout. It's called Scapegoats, where it's like hits you with the conspiracy theory. Some of it makes sense, like with mole people. That's one for me. But like the whole Earth being hollow, I just don't see it. I can get more on the realms of like I believe with a lot of conspiracy theories, there's a point where you have to cut off everything that's going on after the main point. Like even with
Exactly.
Alex Jones, I as much as I think that man has lost some of his marbles, I believe he is right on a lot of things. But the issue is when you start bringing in like false statistics or something, then everything gets thrown out the window. It's like, hold on a second. So pause it every time he goes on a rant and then look that shit up. And it's true. Operation Paperclip was where I first started. And I told you when you were messaging me about like everything, I was like, bro, once you start going down the rabbit hole, it's really hard to fucking stop. Like I had a good period for a week where I was looking up nothing but conspiracy theories. And I was like, oh my God, MK Ultra's a thing. Oh my God, this is a thing. What is this? How come nobody's talking about this? And the next thing you know, like I'm in a store and I just have a freaking panic attack over trying to decide if I want Raisin Bran or Rice Krispies. It's because I think you got to dip your toes in it. But then once you dip your toes in it, you're like,
You
oh my
fall in
God.
deep. You're
Yeah.
sinking. You're falling. So I like it's more fun than anything to talk about them. Yeah, the government's doing all those things, but like yeah, we talk about it to let people know because they're not looking it up. And but like the fun ones like Hollow Earth, there's monsters, there's mole people, there's lizard people. Those are always fun to just talk about. Like if we came from apes and and it just a measure of time that made us what we are, and dinosaurs are older and so there's subterranean holes. Maybe there could be a path to evolution to lizard people, but there's also like the lizard part of your brain metaphor. So it's just fun to get into all of them
What is the
and
biggest
use
one?
discernment.
What would you say the biggest one for you is? Like the one that's really got you like 100% convinced?
Project Paperclip for sure. Like Nuremberg trials, and we get the Nazis to come work for us and different sciences.
Wait, people say that's a conspiracy?
Well, of course it's confirmed, but like to like a depth where people would want to look into it, they would just kind of dismiss it as a conspiracy.
Yes.
Like I talked to people at work about Nazis still. We're fighting the Nazis today, man. Like like, but the definition's been flipped as projection. They're like, oh, you're the Nazis, but I just think it's like ancestors. Oh, it's just two generations away, and people teaching the younger generations. It's all plausible.
I think it all, especially like if you want to talk about Nazis, I think it's evolved now. It seems like what's really hard, like a lot of people talk about like fascism or all these things that like these giant activist things that are meant to be good, but they go way too far to the extreme. it's really hard to argue with like a fashion thing. It's really hard to argue with like a trend or a statement, because if you even try and refute an opinion to it, you're seen as hate culture. You're seen as hate, and it's like all these things that are hate, hate, hate. Then you get dismissed as like an awful person. Like people deny MK Ultra, which is insane to me because of how much the government has admitted to it, and the CIA has files all over it and all these different multiple accounts. The one they don't understand for me, which is one I'm passionate about, is the way with the human mind is sleeper agents. People
Yeah.
talk about there's no way sleeper agents are a thing. I'm like, for the longest time possible, and still to this day, a cure for schizophrenia is electroconvulsive therapy, where you shock the brain when it starts picking up signs or symptoms of dealings of things that would happen to be with schizophrenia. That was their cure for it. So then your body would naturally, it's like feeding somebody a piece of cheese or something every time a bell rings. Next thing you
Yeah.
know, a bell rings and they're put their hand out for the cheese.
Pavlov.
Yeah. Well, with the sleeper agent thing, you can train the brain by playing like people listening to those motivational tapes. Like there's one with George Takai, which is fucking awkward as hell, where you're sleeping and it's like, you are amazing. And it's just going into your ears and freaking you out while you sleep. But then these positive affirmations through your head all night, you wake up and it starts affecting your brain. Like I'm not, and it does help, but it can also be used in the reverse with mind control.
Yeah.
Television advertisements, you start wondering like, I have a craving for like Domino's pizza. And it was it because the ad 5 minutes ago on your television was Domino's pizza?
It is.
Project
Because
stuff
yeah,
into your head. Nobody wants to believe that. They think that's it can't be like that. But it is.
scrolling past crystals, and then now there's not a crystals anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I can't satisfy the dopamine. But the sleeper agents, there's definitely like a winter soldier, like in Captain America. There's definitely like one guy they freeze and bring out to do something, and then he's like, "What year is it?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just go and get him, and then come back."
My biggest fear was with information like that, sleeper agents coming out, and then there's people wanting the Neuralink, and there's people like me that don't want it. I
Nah,
don't like that because back in the day, like they had made a whole program on the fact of there's a Center for Existential Risk that was developed, $500 million fund a year or something like that, that was designed to watch technology to make sure it doesn't advance a past human, I guess, the human species. Doesn't make like a whole race of Terminators. We've gone from wanting to make robots that are smart, thinking, and all these things that could surpass any human abilities possible to now enhancing ourselves. And that becomes an issue because if you can hack a Tesla, what makes it so someone can't hack your brain when they have a chip inside of it? Give you advertisements in your dreams, shit like you would see on a Cartoon Network show or something. But then here's the thing where people are like, that's movie talk, that's cartoon talk. Is that a way of media not letting you believe it? Like it's too much of a fantasy? It's like we think aliens are all going to be little green men, but they've shown you a wide variety of aliens throughout movies and stuff. So if one ever does come down here, we won't be so freaked the fuck out. Like,
exactly. It's actually to the point where they're just like alien movie, just throw the alien movies at you until you're just like, all right, this here's an alien movie. I'm not even gonna watch it because I'm kind of numb to it. It's just all right, aliens. But yeah, the neural chip link. An example I bring up is Dr. Octopus in that Spider-Man 2 movie.
yes.
So he got his little chip got fried that separated the AI from his mind. It got fried, and then the arms supposedly took him over. But I was like, why are the arms so intelligent that they would have their own goals and manipulate a man? And I could just think like if you got the Neuralink behind your head, you could just like flip the switch, and then you just let's work out, super soldier. Now you're on the move to whatever this thing is telling you to do.
I think it promotes an era of laziness. It seems like everything that's being created technology wise that causes an issue that ends up being solved was created by the technology in the first place. And I think that's on the factor of we're we don't know how to survive anymore.
Yep.
It that really hit me like when I was playing, like I'll even toss it out there, Assassin's Creed. When I was playing that, I was like, yo, Imagine going out into the farms every day, getting your own food, having to grow your own stuff, and someone just burns your whole house down. You have to rebuild from scratch. You have to move somewhere. Someone comes in and takes your family away or something. There's none of these things that are inherent threats into us anymore. And that causes us to lose a little bit of skill or survival instincts and things that we build up where technology can fix it. Like the issue is when you start putting programs into your head, you start putting technology into your body, you're making your life so much easier that if I was to take that away, let's say a year or two later, you wouldn't know what to do because you would have to go back to the way it was before. And it's like biting the apple. You can't undo biting the apple. You just bit it. Sorry, man. That's the roll of the dice. Now everything that comes is because you did that. You can't just take it back. There are no give backsies.
So I almost think it's by design. Here's a conspiracy. I think it's to domesticate the people, like DoorDash and Postmates and the monthly subscription food things, or it just comes to your door and it makes you less apt to go out into the world and do things, maybe even grow. My dad, he's kind of a wild man, and he lives in the woods, and he like walks through the woods barefoot and gets mushrooms. He lived long after the lights went out, and I always talk about the lights going out and how we're not going to be prepared for what if the lights go out. You know, we can't go out. We're gonna end up walking like in The Walking Dead, and like I might have to eat this dog or something, because it's the only thing I can find. He came to attack me.
I think it came. I know when the coronavirus hit, there was a big thing I was getting into, which was how much control you actually have in your own life. It's not as much control as you think. There's actually someone. I honestly think there's definitely an Illuminati out there. I've joked about the Freemasons and stuff, but it's 100% came to the closest realization that we were on the door of revealing something like that. But the
Mm-hmm.
issue is we're not at war right now with anything but ourselves. And when we're not paired up against a bigger enemy, a bigger force, we're not united, we start picking problems and issues with each other.
Picking
I've
sides.
I've always talked about the two things in the world that the government has always been afraid of was religion and then people. When the people joined up into groups, they could overtake the government. But when religion was so powerful and so old, and this is my theory on, I talked about this around last year. I had talked to a rabbi that eventually religion was going to be knocked down a peg by the government, was going to start taking down churches and stuff. He didn't believe me. Then a week later, 3 priests at the Vatican were arrested. I told him, I was
In
like,
New York.
it's testing the strength of things. The government's becoming what it should never be, and that is a supreme force that we rely on. We need to rely on ourselves, but the government should never have this much power because power is corrupting. No matter if you became the president, no matter if I became the president, it's a thing. When you start having more reach, a farther grasp, like being a kid and you're in your driveway or something, you're stuck in your driveway.
Can't cross
Then
the line.
yeah, next thing you know, your dad's like, all right, or your mom or whatever is like, hey, go down the street. You can go down the street, all right? Now you can do that. You can leave the driveway, go down the street. Then you hit that. Then you want to keep pushing it farther and farther and farther until eventually you have freedom. You have all this thing of I have complete control. I have all this power. I can go down to the store if I wanted to. Then if your parent after all that says, hey, I want you to stay in the driveway, you get angry because you've
Get
had
out.
so much freedom and now you have to be stuck to the driveway again.
Just like Fauci just said, the American spirit is to like resist authority. I can't remember exactly, but then he said it's time to do what you're told, and then everybody is just saying no. Everything in the comments is like no. Just you literally just said it in one sentence.
The issue is, I think, same thing with media wise, about people, if you ever even say Alex Jones's name, he gets like, everyone looks at you like you're fucking nuts. And
Yeah,
I say that's because media has given him the shittiest thing possible. And you see that with the Bob Lazar documentary. Bob Lazar talked about all this stuff that is now being revealed. This time last year, people were trying to storm Area 51 that everyone forgot about. He revealed a bunch of shit, and then people were like, well, where's your credit? Where's your proof? They took all that away from him. They deleted all his diplomas. They no resemblance that he was even anywhere. They did the same thing with Alex Jones. They called him a conspiracy theorist, all this stuff. And then one bad thing, the Sandy Hook thing he talked about, which he has apologized for. People run with that and always use that as the example. Okay, That was a slip up because he had dived so fucking deep into it. And it's an issue. People have this, not sheep, I would say, but they have this mentality that can't be true. That's the government. They're supposed to be red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
That's the idea of what it is. But people run the government, and people are known to be a little bit corruptful. Like with the reason why a lot of people love Donald Trump was because he didn't have any lobbyists. Okay, that's true. He didn't have any lobbyists, but that makes everyone around him a lobbyist because then everyone else is just going to be easily paid for. If I told you, hey, if you just did this, nobody that you know is going to be involved or affected, and it's just some random people that you don't know, but I'm going to give you $500 million. Damn right you're going to accept that. It's the same reason why humankind is genetically tested in areas where it's not around us. Besides testing in our own home, we always experimented Tuskegee, all these things in another country because you're testing on something that looks nothing like you. It's why we always go down to animals. It's why we always go down to something that is nothing resemblance to anything close, whether it's skin color, whether it's body type. You always want to try it on something that doesn't look like you because the sense of connection or the sense of empathy gets cut a little bit there.
Yeah. So I like to so I'd like to argue that I probably did this because of the Alex Jones censorship and deplatforming and unpersoning, like in 1984. Like I'm just throwing my hat in the race. I'm just adding to the pile. Maybe I'll get pulled down for my words, but that's kind of the end of the road. That's where you started the journey knowing.
That's the
So
issue is if you're getting pulled down for something you said. Censorship, my issue with it is Orville said you can't do censorship on the aspect of things that you're going to create a dumb society. There are things you shouldn't say, but you should also have the common sense to know that that's a hateful thing. You shouldn't be restricted from another platform telling you like a parent would slap you in the back of the head saying you can't say that. You shouldn't have that there.
well, it's the push against power, like the push against authority, like exposing something. I wouldn't say anything that like to offend or to harm or ostracize. It would be more to inform, and then those things, if I was correct, those might get taken down at the end of the road.
So you're afraid that something you might say might get taken down.
Well, like if you say Alex Jones, or if you say that one whistleblower or whatever, in the Biden stuff, apparently if you say his name, you get taken down too.
I got upset with Twitter and Instagram, still upset with it because apparently, even though Biden apparently won, the election is still going. Because if you look up anything that's hashtag or like if you look up like a hashtag on Instagram or Twitter, at the very top it said that it had been taken down all recent posts, like things that would be a couple days ago. Anything before like 3 days is not going to show up in the hashtag on the aspect of it might affect the election. And that came out when the Biden laptop stuff came out. And I was like, when you start doing that, you're really cutting off information from people and you've given them a device where information is everything that's on there, like being able to search up anything. And that's my issue with it is like, you should let people try and find the information for themselves, but they're like, but that creates disinformation. I'm like, then they'll be corrected when they find out that's not the real information. There's a comedian, Tom Segura, talks about how I think it's Tommy Lee Jones, the guy who
Right.
plays in Men in Black. He said that
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
his dad told him his whole entire life or something that he was gay or something, and then he ends up talking to someone that knows him, and he's like, he's not at all. And he's like, wait a minute, so my dad just told me that. He goes,
Oh, yeah,
Dad,
yeah,
did
yeah,
you
yeah.
know he's not? And he goes, oh, I thought he was. And that was it. But he had been going around telling everybody his whole entire life that that was a thing. So it was like they need to be corrected, but you have to let people grab their own opinions. You have to let people find the information themselves, not just give them an article and expect them to run with it. But that's what people do is they run with the first thing they're told.
I'd argue that I'm a free speech purist. Let them all do their thing. Everybody can say everything. I don't think there should be anybody who can say that you can't. Don't call for violence, of course. But like, if you want to be racist, let that guy be racist, and then through the invisible guiding hand of capitalism, he would fail, and people who work off their merit would progress and strive, and just let everybody say whatever. There are no arbiters of truth. There's wrong information, but we can use discernment as adults and logic and find our own ways without um outside interference.
It's kind of like the survival, like the surviving and the strongest will survive. You're going to get bred out and you're going to be kind of tossed out by society if you don't evolve with it when it comes to certain things. If somebody is racist, if you take them down, if you go and say this thing, and if they're saying what it is, if it's hateful, if it's all these things, if you ban a comedian off something he said because it might be offensive to women, that should be a thing, but you shouldn't ban him, because next thing you know, that's just going to spread more hate. He's going to go home after he loses his job, loses his money making thing, have to get a job at a fast food place, hate his fucking life. Next thing you know, he's telling his kids that, oh, you got to hate them because they did this to me, they did this.
Yeah.
Then that just breeds it on and on and on. It's like, no. Let society, if he cracks a joke on something about women and nobody laughs, he's going to find different jokes because nobody's
Yeah.
getting what he's saying. It's got to be the society. We're evolving, but we can't cancel people. We can't do all these types of things, because you start doing that, you start trying to play, I'm the creator of the system here. I don't like this, it's going to get tossed out. That's an issue. It's like picking and prying. It's like if you're going to a buffet. Life's not a buffet. It's a fucking, here's the menu and here's what we have.
So the Streisand effect, when you say don't look at this, people are gonna go look. Barbara Streisand said don't look at my mansion and event because it's private property. But when she said that, everybody just Googled it and checked it out. So she got her own effect from it. So deplatforming people will probably make them bigger if you just let them die and burn out like a fire. Like if you just let the embers burn until it just extinguishes itself, instead of putting a magnifying glass over it and directing everybody to it, like Nazis or racism. I would assume it would die out naturally, because in school you're not taught these things. You're not, of course, we're products of our environment and in certain situations and your parents. But I think just going through it yourself without everybody throwing it at you, you could probably figure it out for yourself.
I think people, when they run with the first article, like I had talked to a journalist and she was like, my job's not really a thing anymore. And I was like, why do you say that? And she goes, because anybody that puts up a blog can be a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever goes and tries to find out the information, the things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to interview people, you're supposed to talk to people, you're supposed to gather from a bunch of different sources, not just type in, well, I don't know, my kidneys hurt. What does this mean? Well, Wikipedia or whatever WebMD is going to tell you have kidney failure or something, and then you're freaking the hell out. It's like, hang on a second, why don't you look farther and farther and farther, and you realize there could be possible things, not just one thing. Could have just been, I don't know, you had a bad salad or something. I don't know. Like it's these. When it comes down to the Nazi thing, I think it's evolved into a form where now, if it doesn't fit your narrative, just like the Nazis, you can destroy it. And that becomes with all the movements where everyone's doing this and this and this. And some of it is good. Some of it is like, like the racism stuff. It's good to try and, fix this issue that's been going on for so long, but it doesn't have to go down to violence. And then people fight the side of, well, it hasn't been making any change and this is what's making change. Yeah, but the issue is you start fighting people and scenarios that are just going to give the media more to blast, and then it's going to keep distorting your whole movement. It's got to be done in a positive resolution. I just don't know what that whole aspect is, because we end up getting to the door and knocking on it of dismembering or taking down whatever this establishment or corrupt society that we have is, and then we fucking back up to the driveway. It's like, go through the door. Go through the door. Don't give up when we start going, like COVID, for instance. All this shit knocked people out of their pegs, and they realize, holy shit, the government is telling us what to do and forcing us to do all this stuff at the threat of this disease where I'm losing my business. I have known people that have committed suicide through this thing. Then they released Area 51 or unidentified flying objects were a thing, and nobody gave a fuck. They're doing stuff and they're hiding information either because you can't handle it or because they don't want you to know. Well, where's the line? Which is it? And how do we get to a place where we're not ripping at each other's throats? Because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, I get it. Media is not going to play nice things because that's just not, I guess, applicable to our attention. But there are nice interactions out there. There are good stuff that's happening out there. There are people doing amazing things, but everything is riled up in society to throw us off balance and get us pissed off at each other. So we're not paying attention to the big picture.
Building off what you were saying about the guy who got deplatformed and he's telling his kids to hate these people for this, like what I was saying about, like, if they were just free to say what they want and they burned out naturally, they wouldn't have that same sense of somebody got me or depression or and yeah, I forgot the next thing I was saying.
Well, with somebody just kind of burning out, like you're saying, it's the aspect of they're going to have to evolve. They're going to have to try and be like,
Yeah,
okay, well, obviously the way I think nobody agrees with. So, because
like
this,
bombing on stage,
yeah,
you would change your jokes
yeah,
because
you wouldn't just sit there playing the same stuff and hoping like, well, you're going to keep going because one dude in the back's laughing. No,
right.
if the whole place is booing you and telling you to get off stage, you're going to end up finding new jokes and going to a different avenue. But then people don't like that. They want to fight. They want to stand up. And the issue is when you try and fight, everyone has that instinct where it's a fight or flight response. And most of the time, it's people protecting their pride and trying to defend themselves. And that becomes another fight. So now you have two people beating the crap out of each other. And then there's hatred that gets born there. And that gets put on social media. The next thing you know, it turns into this whole aspect where it's starting to be distorted. Like there's a person I used to work with. His name is the Indigenous Patriot. And that's because like he's part Native American, but he was speaking out a lot about Trump and stuff. And people were like commenting a lot of this hateful stuff, and they were starting to take his words and twist it, where he got put in a couple of articles that were the complete opposite of what he was saying. And he was copying and pasting, like, guys, they took my profile, they took all this stuff, and they started doing this. I don't know why people want to distort that. Honestly, I'm the type of person where it's like, let be. Like, if it's, I'm at the point where, like, I think there's two people where there's one that won't leave people the fuck alone, and there's people that want to be left the fuck alone. I'm at the point where I'm doing my best based on how I was raised to treat everyone equal, to be open to all perspectives, to do all this type of stuff, be open and love everybody. But I can't be so consumed with everyone like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Don't tell me what I need to fucking do. That's the issue, is you can't command people, because you shouldn't think you're higher or you shouldn't think you're more entitled than somebody else, no matter what your activism approach is.
So like we've all built up our egos because, like you said, we're all journalists or we're all hosts, or we put our egos into this. And so to discredit someone just by labeling them a conspiracy theorist or a Nazi, you can discredit the ideas without hearing them. And you need to, you're wrong because I can discredit you. You need to listen to me and I'll push forward what I think is right. And we're the popular people. These are the popular ideas. And I'm just saying, you can say it over there. I'm going to say this over here. Don't tell that guy what to do. And don't tell that guy what to say, or don't take anything from him, or don't take anything from me. I just want us all to chill.
It's funny because I had a person I had denied to be on the show, mostly because they just like, it's like I said, you use your name, you're on video, that's what happens, just so you're not saying some outrageous stuff. They were refusing, and then I was like, well, I'm sorry, I guess it's not going to work out. They called me a cisgender, which I don't think I fully understand, and then they called me gay and something like that, and they said that I'm a hateful person. That's all this types of things. Then I had like 100 people go onto my Facebook, and then they actually looked at the videos and they're like, no, I don't think you're right at all about this. But then there were people on the status that that person posted commenting like, this is a piece of shit, let's take them down. And then they all went over and like, wait a minute, this isn't true. I'm like, there you go.
Because they,
Because they got their feelings hurt. They couldn't be on the show. I denied them. And then
oh,
next
because of
thing
the name thing. Yeah.
yeah, and then next thing you know, they start spreading fake stuff out there, trying to get people to agree with them. Because sadly, what Facebook has turned into is you can post something, and then a bunch of people can comment supporting you, and then you get a couple of people that throw in there like, I don't think you're right about this, and then you start attacking them. Like, I was looking through the person's comments that had posted that, and I was telling another podcast friend of mine, I was like, dude, look at her comments. there were people like, well, I don't think that's what that person was trying to say. I think you might be taking this to heart because the person and started attacking them. I'm like, see, you're not fitting their narrative. They're creating a story here and you're not fitting into what they agree with. If you don't agree with me, then I have to unfriend you. It's the same thing with the debates. People were putting up posts about like, hey, don't delete me, or if you unfriended me because of the debates, it's something I said, remember, it's just words or something like that. And then people were getting so taken to heart by it. And I was like, how did we get here? How did we get into this spot where we were more worried about trying to get bill money? And now we're at this point where we're worried about this person posted something I didn't like, so I need to attack them for it.
Getting back into conspiracies by design. I don't know. Even the social dilemma, like I got halfway through it and I'm like, all right, I told my wife all this before this thing started. So like maybe your feed will show you something different than will show my feed, but there's just enough information in both of these feeds to reinforce your idea or your bias. And I think I'm right, and you think you're right because these sources, we can look them up and they have just enough information for each side to believe. And it's caused division and just fracture the people when we all could just be together. I think like if we were all doing a daily good deed, like maybe even entrepreneurial stuff, hiring people, we'd do more than like just all the people who go out into the street.
Yeah, well, you start surrounding yourself with people that have the same opinion as you. You don't have anybody that's giving you that, but you don't have anybody that's giving you that, hey, what about this? What about another perspective being on there? If you're same thing with in office, it also goes down to Instagram too. You're surrounding yourself with things and they're giving you recommended posts based on the things that you've liked. You're surrounding yourself with everything that's involved in that community, which can be good, but people take that a different way. They go, oh, these people agree with what I'm saying. Somehow even politics and everything falls into social media. It all ends up getting on Instagram. Next thing you know, there's all these different sides that are posting up like I like 10 conspiracy posts in a row. Next thing you know, everything I was looking at was conspiracy posts where I was just like, okay, I don't think Biden is a lizard from the third planet of Nectar. Gonna keep scrolling down on this one. But there's people that start liking that post because they think it's funny. Then they're constantly being shown it, and then next thing you know, there's some misinformation where Instagram was like, might be misinformation. This might be misinformation. What I'm getting crazy about, and I want to get your thoughts on is, so recently the iPhone had updated, and they now have a coronavirus safe area thing on your phone that you can install where it lets you know if the place you have been in contact with has been checked for coronavirus to let you know that you might have accidentally gotten it. So it'll keep warning you and giving you notifications. You're in an area that has been tested highly for coronavirus, and it'll keep sending you these messages like you can't turn them off. I had uninstalled it. I had turned the notification settings off. I keep getting the alert on my phone, like when you look at like a banner pop up on the front screen. I'm like, okay, now you're not even caring that you're tracking me anymore. Like before it was like a big issue, like, oh well, we're just trying to help. It's like now you're just letting me know like hey, did you just go to Walmart? Well, guess what, that Walmart had a coronavirus patient. You might be coronavirus, stay quarantined. How long until you're sending that to some government where it's like he's been in a contaminated area and then I have to stay on my house arrest for like 2 weeks?
So we all have ID numbers. It's our phone number. We have our chip. It's with us. We have our animal tag. But
I like that
so
animal tag. That's literally what it is.
it's exactly what it is. We think we can turn off the location on our phones. Even Androids, they like right when it happened, there was an update and it said COVID. You can like turn it on or off, but of course you can't turn it off. Can't turn your phone off. You press the power button, see what it says. When it's dead, it still says 0. It lights up and says 0%. So I don't like being tracked for COVID because they might end up coming to you and asking, hey, who are your people, who you talk to, what are their phone numbers, and it just becomes you get on a list. But I'm sure everybody gets on a list somehow.
I kind of did an episode on my buddy's podcast where we had talked about China's social economic credit system, where it's like you can snitch on somebody and then you get credit into your thing. That's what it's becoming today. It's now coming over here And it's becoming this thing where if you're not wearing a mask, if you're not doing these other things, is looking for conflict. It's trying to get something above that other person. It's this whole competitive mindset. And I think that is a problem with the system. The system is bred to do this. It's the same thing where you're seeing technology phase jobs out. We might go back to a Luddite movement, or the government's going to have to find a way to be able to give people money for doing something by working from home and letting the machines do the actual real heavy work. Like, where you give a kid like a small little box and you act like it's a big help when you're moving. It's that type of thing. We're going to be on a system that's going to end up being relied on machines, where it's going to phase out people, and it's going to be a whole spark of a Luddite movement, like in the Industrial Revolution, where people were fighting these printing presses and newspaper machines on the aspect of, I want my job. You're getting these machines to do my job for me, and you're not. You fired me. How am I going to feed my family?
So I reference 1984 a lot. The George Orwell book. Like there is a plan. It's an immortal plan by people who give themselves to a party, so they in turn are immortal. And it's to separate the gap between the top and the bottom, the workers and the people who strive off the work. And like it's just there's so many examples to reference to in 1984 that are happening today, like the masks, like the screens in 1984, they would register your facial expressions to see if you changed, to see what you were thinking, to the point where they could just pick you up because you showed disdain for the party. Or like the social credit score is definitely real and will definitely get here eventually, because AOC's already making her lists for people with certain ideas and support and certain sides. And I just there's always, since America was like created, it was against the plan of the government on top of the people. And so why wouldn't it be the reverse plan of whoever is trying to usurp America, try to flip what it is to what to an oppressive to an oppressive system.
I think it gets very, very sketchy when you start to feel the reins of your own life. You're not holding them anymore. I think that happened with coronavirus. I think that's what really kind of woke me up to a lot of things, more on the aspect of like, I'm not a kid or a guy that likes to be told what to do ever. I hate authority.
Yep.
So when something is forcing me and not giving me an option and threatening me to do something, that's not how you act. It's trying to create a system which I think needs to be fixed on the aspect of, not we're not going off something that was written by feather and candlelight. We're going off a whole new system that needs to be revamped. We have aged so fast with technology, where we're putting all our funding into, instead of focusing on things like trying to actually make sustainable living. Let's focus on the homeless population. Let's focus on all these issues that were going on that we were so concerned about maybe 100 years ago, or it was like world peace, ending starvation, all those SPCA commercials you used to see on TV that would make you focus on something that should be fixing. They were there. Now they're gone. Now everything is, you need to focus on getting the iPhone 12. You need to focus on getting this and this and this. It's We're putting way too much faith into something that shouldn't have as much power as it does. And that's when you start looking at, like, people had issues with the Pope. They were like, the Vatican's its own country. This guy's like a god to their people. It's like, it's really weird. You would see all them bowing and stuff to this one man who just would be like, I guess the voice or whatever of God. It's like, you're doing that with the government. You're relying in everything that the president says as he has all the answers, when he's just a fucking person trying to figure out as much as you are.
So a lot of charity, even back in the day, was all voluntary, and I guess there's been a mental shift to where it's not on me to help the other person. It's more, tax me and go government, go help them. Like, people don't take personal responsibility for kindness. They expect it to be governed into the people who aren't kind.
I agree with that. I think it gets weird when you go to like a Home Goods or something and they ask if you want to round up your 7.98 purchase, you want to donate that 2 cents to, you know, don't to the homeless, and you're like, sure, you can round it up, and they ring a bell and let everybody know that you donated, and you're like, why are you doing that? Like, they don't even know how much I donated. They could think I donated $20 and it seems like I'm a good person, and people just do that to feed the ego. And it's like, what is, it's like a multitude of factors that are going on with what's going on with people right now, and I think it all stemmed from either just being too comfortable or it's being way too easy to survive. We're not, besides this virus thing that had came out, nobody was worrying about anything. You didn't care that at any moment you could just, your organs could stop working. Nobody has that thought in their head. It's all about, what am I going to post on Instagram? What am I going to post on Twitter? What am I do this and this and this? And it's all worrying about stuff that is future worrying. It's worrying about stuff that hasn't happened. It might not even happen.
Yeah, man. So
you have me thinking you're going to come on here and load me up with conspiracies. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing the talking.
Oh, I'm just letting you go, man.
I want to hear some shit.
Oh man. Well, I brought up in our messages, I brought up Hollywood undertakers. I think there's probably like a 6-foot dude walking around killing celebrities when they're when they're about to go on that dive down. So
really?
Yeah,
I've
what?
never fucking heard that one before. I mean,
I made this up. This is just
I
something.
was about to say, I was like, I believe Tom Hanks, there's something wrong with him. I think he's probably got like some child things going on. Like I called Mr. Rogers and stuff, but
I saw his Instagram and I was like, all right, there's some questions there.
there's some, it's like Britney Spears, like Instagram, where you're looking at her like, oh my God, she's not mentally well. Like she needs some help.
I heard that she's being medicated and then she's doing all this rocking in the videos, and that's just a sign of whatever medication she was on.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I was hearing Kanye running for president on Joe Rogan, I was like, yo, like he can't even say a full sentence. Like it's not against Kanye, but like obviously there's medication involved. Like he's not fully there. You can sense that in the speech patterns and stuff, the way they're talking.
Yeah, I couldn't finish the Kanye one, and I'll listen to 5-6 hours of podcasts. I was like, he's going off. He's taking branches. He's taking liberties.
The issue was it was hitting at a niche audience, like fans of Kanye's, but at the same time, it's like when I listen to Kevin Hart, it's all about God and stuff. And I'm like, there are some people out there that just don't know what to believe in and don't have a religion. So it's really hard when you start saying, God told me to do this and God told me to do that. It falls on some people's deaf ears. And that's where you split the group up again. It's like unite on one opinion, which is the aspect of I'm here to help. Don't say another force is telling you to do so, even though that might get some of your audience. But look at the wide variety of people that are in America. Are all there's a lot of immigration here. So a lot of people like Christianity and Catholic is not really a dominant religion anymore. There's about 46% of the population that doesn't have a religion, on the aspect of they don't know what the hell to believe in.
Yeah, we want to latch on to something. We want to latch onto a purpose or something outside of ourselves, science, politics, religion. We want to be part of a group. We don't want to take all the responsibility of being an individual. Like, and the power of the individual is strong. You know individuals' names from history. You can take the reins. You can do it.
I really want to hear that. All right, so why do you think there's like a Hollywood Undertaker? Because I really this sounds like super, like I'm really interested.
So, like, there's a theory. I can't name all the celebrities, but there's like a list of celebrities that have like died at 27, and
Like Marilyn
that
Monroe?
I think even Kurt Cobain and
Don't say Jimi Hendrix.
maybe I know he's
He
on a
was
list
killed
of
by his
wrongful
manager, I
deaths.
think. Jimi
Yeah,
Hendrix, yeah.
yeah, he's him and Michael Jackson and Mac Miller. I don't know, but yeah, I think there's somebody killing celebrities. Like there's there's a chart. There's a chart. Oh, it's starting to drop a little bit. We got rights. We killed this guy. Cacao.
They did not kill Alex Trebek. I will fucking freak out.
I think he was old, but he's not 27 or 33. It's a
You
weird number.
flip those numbers around, it can be 72.
Oh,
Look at that. Conspiracy. Throw that in the ether.
But like Robin Williams, bruh, some people who like get hung, I'm wondering if there's a dude who's like No Country for Old Men walking. He's got a rope and he's just strong enough to get you over to get you. That's
I
a fun.
will entertain this one because I like it, because I think what this is going to show is you don't want to be famous. Everyone has this ideal of, I need to be number one, I need to be a famous person, I want to be the next Joe Rogan, I want to be this, and this. I want to be Kevin Hart, whatever. I don't think you do, because the way we're really pointing fingers at celebrities, if they say something, it seems like it's not the safest thing. I bring up the Will Smith thing, where you remembered him as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then they pulled out that gif where he was apologizing and all these types of things. He was crying. Now that's the only thing I can remember him by. And it's like, that turned sour. It's like Pam Anderson. She did so much plastic surgery to try and keep up with her looks, but it eventually fades away when you're banking on something that is literally, it's a quick glimpse. It's like being in the spotlight, like Adele's song Hello. Then it's gone and you don't really hear about her anymore.
You're only as famous as your last deed, right? You're not gonna remember these decades of work of Will Smith. Oh man, I Robot, I Am Legend, Fresh Prince, the one where he's the guy selling the bone marrow thing. But he's crying because his wife did some weird stuff. And that's how you're gonna remember him. The YouTube Rewind. That's how you remember him. The memes.
It's my theory on heroic death. You got to jump in front of a train saving somebody. That's how you got to go out. You can do a bunch of shitty stuff in your life, but if you go out on that last act, that's what they always told you is a gateway into heaven. And
That's how you get a statue.
the only time you ever get religious is usually when you're on your deathbed. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, so like the last thing you said on Twitter is what you remembered for. I say this all the time. Save a man's life, be remembered for a day. Kill a man, be remembered for a lifetime.
That's true when it comes to people that do like the shootings and stuff. They feel like that's the only way to get their name on TV or in the paper or be remembered is by doing something like that, a horrible act. And that's when they stopped publishing names of terrorists in newspapers and media because it was giving them too much attention. But I liked what you said, the last thing you say on Twitter. Imagine if people had to be, I guess, held up to, but the last words on Twitter was their final thing they would say. I'm happy that my last tweet was, I really missed the 3 a.m. infomercials, where it was like one dude would be sitting with like a plate of food and he would sit hard as shit and throw the tray up in the air as he sat. I was like, yeah, those definitely helped out. I feel like a lot of depression for people.
Oh yeah, the over exaggerated dropping stuff or like stuff's falling out the cupboards. Here's your item that you need for keeping everything organized. Or
The
here's your shot.
ShamWow commercial.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers him for the ShamWow and not that he beat up a bunch of strippers.
Yep. Chris Brown, same thing. Oh, he good. He dance good and sing good. Don't bring up that Rihanna stuff, man. He's all right. It's like in the Boondocks.
But you still look at Rihanna like I feel bad because I know what happened.
Oh yeah, because I don't know. Somebody said whatever island she's from, it's kind of they hit the men, so she might have smacked him around a little, but he.
It's like every time you can either, I don't know how you slip it to where it's good on the aspect of like something like that happens and then you're like, oh, but I don't remember him for that, I remember him for this. Like I feel like either the people don't have the information to know that or they just like the person so much. Like every time I look at what's his name, he plays in Wild and Out.
Steve-O.
No.
Oh, Wild and Out. Not Wild
He
Boys.
dated Mariah Carey. Nick Cannon.
Yeah.
So every time I look at Nick Cannon, I think about the horrible divorce with Mariah Carey because I care about Mariah Carey. But everyone else looks at him like, well, he has Wild and Out. He's a good whatever actor. He's a good
Not
a
anymore.
bunch of, yeah. Well, but I'm just saying it's a thing. You look at someone, it's like, how do you want to be remembered?
But then he got remembered by the last thing he said on Twitter. He said,
"Stay off Twitter, people." Jesus.
Yeah. So what were we saying? Nick Cannon. Oh yeah, you remembered? Oh, the Boondocks. The Boondocks was talking about the R. Kelly trials, and why he definitely did this. Why are you standing up for him? Because he good. So like, you
I
can
talked
separate.
about it with the Bill Cosby thing. There's a bunch of pages on Instagram talking about Bill Cosby's innocent. I'm like, hang on a second. He admitted to what he did, but he wasn't going to apologize for it, and that's why he's in jail. So you can't be so blinded by your truth, your love for someone, to ignore all the wrong things that have happened. You need to help that person fix those and evolve. Even if you can't fix them, you have to evolve past that. You have to admit what you did, and you have to change.
So you can compartmentalize. I listen to all the Michael Jackson music. It's all good. It's all great. It's part of my life and my childhood. And this is the allegations and the things over here. But I can draw a line. I can I can still listen to Michael Jackson. I can still listen to R. Kelly. I like those things. I can still listen to Chris Brown because I can separate from. But you still have to see these things over here.
Yeah, don't ignore them. Don't act like they're not there. Just understand that they're there and don't appreciate him for the things that he have done.
Right. And
It gets hard talking about this shit because it's like you're gonna say something, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't mean to see pro this. I'm just saying they
right.
made Beat It, and Beat It was a really good song. So I don't want to say that I'm pro what he did, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, I'm never gonna listen to his stuff again because all this. It's like I still like to turn Thriller on every now and again.
So so everybody's picking sides and there's your side in politics and whatever. But I'll listen to Tom Segura and Ethan Klein, and I'll listen to them because they can make me laugh, and maybe they have the different political view as me. So I'll still go see them weekly, daily. I'll still be in there because that's not what's important. That's not a line in the sand that I'm not willing to cross. I'll still hang with you. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. And a
Doesn't
lot of
need to be
people,
boiled down into a fight.
yeah. Maybe I don't like those 3 sentences, but that 4 hours, man, that was real. That was
Dude,
fun.
I'm telling John about you for sure. He's gonna love that Hollywood thing, dude. I'm gonna run with that one. I'll give you credit when I use it, dude. Because holy crap, that is a good. I literally was about to Google on my phone, the people, famous people that have died at the age of 27, because now I'm very curious.
um, I don't know exactly the age. I think it's 27. I'm pretty sure.
Just say
Um,
adult.
adult, yeah. But it's that peak. It's that, oh, he's coming over that hill. Then we can Prince.
Well, Brandon, I appreciate for giving me the time, man. Seriously, this has been fun. Is there anything you want to promote? You want to promote your YouTube? I know you were dealing with Anchor. Are you on Anchor finally?
Yeah, I just gotta publish the first episode, but I just have to press that button. I'm in the drafts. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at Skeptiphobia, Skeptiphobia, on Twitter, YouTube, and Anchor. And that's all I got to promote. Yeah, it was a fun time.
I'll make sure I link that in the description. Any person that wears Abraham Lincoln, is he riding on an eagle or is he riding on a bear? He's riding on a
It's a bear.
bear with I don't
Where
know,
is it?
Uzi. What is that? Is that assault rifle?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
That
it says man, the Emancipator.
All I can say is that is a badass shirt, and anybody watching the video knows why. And I'll make sure I link all your stuff in the description. And thank you for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast.